Hey everyone, Dave here with another Blu-ray DVD collection update / haul video. This is the first one for the month of August 2022, where we're going to be taking a look at the latest releases from Imprint. This is the 20th wave of the Imprint range. Can you believe it? We have been collecting Imprints for so long now, it's crazy, and what a wave we have this time around. There's a lot to take a look at here, so let's get into it. As I said at the top, in this video we're going to be taking a look at the 20th wave from Imprint Films. I really cannot believe that we are this far deep into the Imprint catalogue. We are up to title number 146 with this wave, which means title 200 is fast approaching in just a couple of months' time. There's some really great stuff announced for the next few months too, and I'm so excited to take a look at all of that as well. This is, of course, the July bundle. We've got a really great selection of individual titles as well as a very special box set here too. I do want to say before we get into this month we're doing something a little bit different on the channel. It's a bit of an experiment. I think this is probably what we're going to be doing going forward, depending on how kind of the reception towards this is. Instead of doing like one big 50, 60, 70 minute video every month, I'm going to try and split every single distributor into their own video and get kind of these smaller bits of content out there, you know, 10, 15, 20 minute videos, and it gives you a kind of an easier way to consume that content too, by kind of staggering the big haul every month into kind of smaller sections. We're going to experiment, we're going to see how that one goes, and if it doesn't go well, we'll probably just go back to the standard 60-minute videos. But I do want to know down below, please let me know how you do like to consume these videos, because I'm always experimenting, always trying to make these easier for you all out there to watch and whatever else. Without further rambling from myself though, let's get into this very special wave. So first up, we're going to be taking a look at this great box set right here, which is directed by Jim Sheridan, 4 Irish films from 1989 to 1997. Imprint notes here that Jim Sheridan was a prominent figure of the new wave of Irish filmmaking in the 1990s. His work has always been praised for his balance between mainstream entertainment and social statements on Irish issues. The film combines the 3 collaborations between Sheridan and Daniel Day-Lewis, My Left Foot from 1989, In the Name of the Father from 1993, and The Boxer from 1997. It also includes his second feature film, The Field, from 1990, which makes its Blu-ray debut in this box. This limited edition collection brings all 4 films together for the first time with stunning HD presentations, newly produced interviews, commentaries, and features, all confirming that Sheridan is a powerful force behind the camera. As all of the great Imprint boxes, this one comes in a big, sturdy, hard box, which includes all 4 of the films in individual Amaray cases. Firstly, we'll take a look at My Left Foot. Based on the story of Christy Brown, this highly acclaimed film depicts his struggle for a normal life. Born with cerebral palsy into a poor, working-class Irish family, Christy was able only to control movement in his left foot and to speak in guttural sounds. With the help of his strong-willed and dedicated family and his own sheer courage and determination, he learns to grapple with life's simple physical tasks and develops into a brilliant painter, poet, and author. Once again, it stars Daniel Day-Lewis in the lead role. While My Left Foot has been released in Australia before from Imprint's parent label Viavision, this edition right here comes with a new audio commentary from film historian and critic Brian Reisman and a new interview featurette with Jim Sheridan. It also comes bundled with the previous archival bonus features, including a featurette on the real Christy Brown and a making of featurette for the film, as well as a theatrical trailer. My Left Foot is one of those movies that has somehow evaded me all this time. I've had it in my watch list for years, ever since Viavision first put out the Blu-ray release of this, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, however long ago that was. It's been sitting in my collection waiting for me to watch. I just haven't got around to it. I'm such a huge fan of Daniel Day-Lewis. I mean, the man has never delivered a bad performance. And I just don't know how I never got around to this one, because this is, you know, lauded as one of his greats of all time. In fact, this box set includes a number of his greatest performances of all time. We'll get to a couple more of those in a moment. My Left Foot, I thought, was a pretty decent movie. Unfortunately, I didn't love it as much as I hoped I would. It's a little bit tedious. It feels very long and kind of segmented in the way that it tells its narrative. Kind of tells it in these kind of more segmented, kind of pieces of Christy Brown's life, and it never really feels like it kind of gels together, for me anyway. The movie only goes for an hour and 45, but it feels like it goes much, much longer. It's just one of those movies. Again, it is a really nice, heartwarming and beautiful film though, and Daniel Day-Lewis delivers just the greatest performance. Such a terrific, impassioned and respectful performance to Christy Brown, and I think it's a movie that has to be seen, particularly for that Daniel Day-Lewis performance, because he really draws you to the screen and you can't get your eyes off. You know, he's just one of those actors that you can just sit and you just watch and observe his craft. I think he's fantastic in this movie, and it's definitely worth a watch. Next up is The Field. Paul McCabe's family has farmed a field for generations, sacrificing endlessly for the sake of the land. And when the widow who owns the field decides to sell the field in a public auction, McCabe knows that he must own it. But while no one in the village would dare bid against him, an American with deep pockets decides he needs the field to buy a highway. This one stars Richard Harris, Sean Bean, John Hurt, Ruth McCabe, and Brenda Fricker. This is a first-time release on Blu-ray. It includes a new audio commentary from film historian Scott Harrison. It includes a brand new documentary called In the Shadow of the Bull, The Making of the Field, as well as a new interview featurette with director Jim Sheridan and a theatrical trailer. The Field is easily one of Jim Sheridan's lesser-known works, particularly when we're talking about the 4 films presented in this box set here. It certainly is the least well-known work in this collection, but that doesn't speak to the quality of the movie. I think this is perhaps my favorite, or one of my favorite films in this box set, full stop. It is such a beautiful, raw, riveting, simple film. It really is such a simple movie. It's not very long at all, and the story is so simple, but it's one that really just kind of sucks you in at the human emotion, the human frailty, and again, the beauty of it all. I think out of all of these movies, and perhaps all of the films that I have seen from Jim Sheridan overall, this is perhaps the most Irish of them all, particularly when we're talking about traditional Irish stories, traditional Irish struggles. I mean, a lot of his movies focus on the Troubles or the kind of more modern day stuff. We throw it back to kind of the past a little bit here, the more kind of rural Irish roots of storytelling. And I think that it really exemplifies the beauty of Jim Sheridan's works. It's a very harrowing movie as well, but there is some really nice humor scattered along the way as well. I think it's just such a beautiful human movie, and I really love this. I was drawn into it the entire way. Even though it is one of Sheridan's lesser known works, it is definitely one that you do want to check out. And I think it's the greatest thing about this box set. Not only are we presented with some of Sheridan's greatest works ever, or the most well-known works of Sheridan ever, we get this beautiful little gem in here as well. That is the beauty of the imprint line as well, is that we get some big, great movies that we've all wanted on Blu-ray for so long, and then we get these little gems that we've either never seen or we've never heard about along the way. And I think they've got that kind of balance down beautifully, not only with their entire range, but with this box set right here. Next up is In the Name of the Father. Nominated for 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, In the Name of the Father tells the riveting true story of Jerry Conlon, a petty thief in 1970s London who is forced to confess to a savage terrorist bombing that he did not commit. When he and his father are both sentenced to life imprisonment, he finds a fiercely dedicated lawyer to help clear his father's name and expose the truth behind one of the most shameful legal events in recent history. The film stars Daniel Day-Lewis, Pete Postlethwaite, Emma Thompson, and John Lynch. Though this has been released on Blu-ray before and carries all of its archival featurettes and interviews, this release includes a new audio commentary by film historian and critic Brian Reisman and a brand new interview featurette with director Jim Sheridan. Okay, so I think In the Name of the Father is easily my favourite film in this box set right here. I watched this one for the first time 1 or 2 years ago maybe. It has been sitting in my collection for quite a while and finally got around to watching that one again a couple of years ago, and I just absolutely adored this. As all Sheridan's movies are, it's so deeply riveting and so deeply powerful, and because this is a true story, it makes it even more so, and it's kind of a very hard watch because of this really earth-shattering story that this one tells. Again, Daniel Day-Lewis delivers such an impeccable performance, and Pete Postlethwaite is incredible as well. We've got Emma Thompson here too, and she delivers as always. I think out of all the movies here, this definitely has my favourite cast of them all, and it's just so fun to watch these three powerhouse performers kind of work off each other. I think this is a really great way to begin. I think this is a really good starting point to get into his works. It really encapsulates everything that his filmmaking is about, particularly as I mentioned before, a lot of his works, you know, focus on the Irish Troubles and all those kinds of things. I think this is a very good kind of gateway into this world of Jim Sheridan filmmaking. Again, I watched a couple of years ago and just absolutely fell in love with it. It's been really great revisiting it again as part of this collection right here. And finally, the box set presents The Boxer. Young Danny Flynn is released from prison 14 years after taking the rap for the IRA and tries to rebuild his life in his old Belfast neighbourhood. The film stars Daniel Day-Lewis and Emily Watson as star-crossed lovers and also features Brian Cox. This is a first-time Blu-ray release in Australia, but it does carry across multiple DVD archival featurettes, including a making of the film, an archival interview, an interview with Emily Watson, deleted scenes, an alternate ending, TV spots, and theatrical trailers, as well as a pair of archival audio commentaries with Jim Sheridan and producer Arthur Lappin. There's also a new interview featurette with Jim Sheridan. I was very excited to check out The Boxer because this is, again, one that's been on my list for a while, but it's not one that I've actually owned. I remember Viavision announced that this was coming out on Blu-ray maybe a year or so ago. There were listings kind of appeared and then disappeared really quickly and the movie just never came out. I think they may have issued it on DVD when it was supposed to come out on Blu-ray, but it didn't hit Blu-ray, and this is obviously the reason why they wanted to hold that back and kind of get it into this box set right here. So finally got a chance to see it. Again, Daniel Day-Lewis is great in this movie. He delivers a really fantastic performance. It's really great to see Brian Cox in his younger years delivering a powerhouse performance. Again, if you've seen Succession, you certainly know his work. You've seen him in movies throughout the years, but this is a really great work from him, and Emily Watson is fantastic here as well. Unfortunately, this is probably a movie that I least connected to out of this box set. I think a lot of his movies, and I think you find with a lot of directors like this who tell very deep and very personal stories, cultural stories, it can sometimes be a little bit hard to connect to them if you, I guess, didn't grow up in that environment, or you aren't too familiar with the kind of landscape, the political, social landscape that surrounded the events. It's always a really great little glimpse into it, but I feel like you don't get that full impact unless you really, truly know it. And I feel like out of all the Sheridan films I've seen, particularly all the ones that are in this box set right here, this is the one that I feel like I didn't connect with as well because I didn't quite understand the troubles, the tribulations that these characters are kind of going through here. Once again though, it is a really beautifully made movie. There are fantastic performances in here and it's definitely worth watching. And I think that if you do appreciate all these other works of Jim Sheridan, that you'll certainly find something in here that you do like. Now, talking on the video presentation of these four movies, I didn't kind of want to talk about each movie individually because I feel like they're all fairly comparable. All of these movies were shot on a fairly low budget and not on the greatest of film stocks. So naturally, these don't look like terrific. They're not going to look like your modern day HD blockbuster fare. They look very grungy. They look very cinematic, very filmic. And I think that that kind of is a really great choice for these movies as well. These are deep, grungy, personal stories that I feel like the way they were filmed, it gives the films this really fantastic atmosphere. These transfers here are terrific. I believe most of them are taken from 2K scans. All of these movies, except for The Field, have been released on Blu-ray before, and I believe that these new discs right here just simply reuse the older masters that have been taken from those films, most of which I believe, again, were 2K scans from the original masters. So these pull up looking pretty much as good as they can, unless they would have been given a 4K scan. But again, because of the nature of the film that these were most likely filmed on, I don't think we're really going to see these looking much better than they do here. In some cases, I do get the feel that there's been a little bit of DNR on a couple of the movies, particularly The Field, which is a little bit of a shame, but for the most part, they do look really good, and they look, I'm not going to say they look really crisp, because these aren't crisp movies, they are very kind of soft films, but with that grain field and that really cinematic look, these are discs right here offer the perfect viewing experience for movies like this, and I would give them highest recommendations. Next up, we'll take a look at The Music of Chance. Whilst travelling across America living off the money from a large inheritance, ex-fireman Nash has a chance meeting with Posy, a professional gambler and card shark. Nash agrees to fund the penniless Posy in a game of poker against two eccentric millionaires. In an attempt to regain some of his spent fortune, his gamble has unforeseen and bizarre consequences for both himself and Posy. This new release comes loaded with mostly brand new bonus features, including an audio commentary by film critic A.S. Hamra, a brand new video essay, and interview pieces with actors Joel Grey and M. Emmett Walsh, and one with composer Philip Johnson. It also comes with a theatrical trailer. Now, Music of Chance is a movie that I actually had not heard of before Imprint put out this disc, but doing a little bit more reading into it, it appears this is a movie that has quite a large cult following. People have gone as far as saying it's a hidden cult gem from the 1990s, and I would certainly say so, because this is a really great movie. The 1990s were absolutely rife with movies like this, though. There are so many hidden kind of independent gems that came from the era that sport really great performances from their casts, have really great writing, and really beautifully made movies, but for some reason just never kind of caught on. I feel like there was so many movies like this of the period. I really enjoyed this. This is, I think it's probably not a movie for everyone, and I guess that's how you would classify a cult film, is that it's a movie that's not going to appeal to absolutely everybody. It's a movie that's very talky, so there's a lot of sequences of just kind of long sort of monologue sequences, a lot of talking between the characters around tables and stuff like that. But it's movies like this that I kind of really find myself drawn into, because it's the character work and it's the beautiful writing and into dialogue and stuff like that I really appreciate. Again, it is a cult film, so it's not going to appeal to absolutely everyone, but I really did enjoy this one. The video quality of this is great as well. Again, it's not one that's going to absolutely knock your socks off, but it is a product of its time that has shaped up to look just as good as it can on the Blu-ray format. It's very filmic. It's got a very nice film grain across it too. Doesn't look like there's been any kind of digital tinkering with like DNRing or any of that kind of stuff. This is a really kind of solid and authentic looking presentation, and I would recommend this one. Next up is The Beast. A Soviet tank unit led by Commander Daskal destroys a village in Afghanistan in 1981. Taj, a member of the village, vows revenge and pursues him along with the Mujahideen. The film stars George Zunda, Jason Patric, and Stephen Bauer. This set includes a couple of brand new bonus features, including a new audio commentary by author David J. Moore and a feature-length documentary, Inside the Beast. Now, I had never heard of The Beast before Imprint announced that they were releasing this one. It's also been known as The Beast of War in certain territories, but people were going absolutely crazy when this was first announced, to the point that I believe it's actually sold out already. This is another hidden gem that Imprint has gotten out there on the market, and I'm so happy that I got my hands on this and was able to take a look at it. As you all know out there, I am a big fan of war films. I just love them. I don't know what it is about them. I feel like I really connect with the human plight of people thrown into a completely different world, this kind of fish out of water story where people have to fight for their own survival while essentially fighting against other people. I don't know, there's just something about that kind of dynamic, that story struggle that really strikes a chord with me. And The Beast, I feel, is really unlike any war movie I've ever seen. There's not a lot of war movies that I've seen that focus on tanks. Don't know why, whether it's too expensive to do movies like this, it's too ambitious to do movies like this. Only one I can really think of, particularly more recently, is David Ayer's Fury, which is a great movie as well. But this is a really just kind of unique war movie, and has such a great, again, harrowing story that really sucks you right in, and really you connect with the plight of the people in this position. It is also, I think, perhaps a little bit controversial, the way they tackle some of the themes in here and stuff, and perhaps that's why this has gone down as kind of more of a cult film that not too many know about, and that is really such a shame, because these are the movies that really should be elevated onto a whole new kind of level. And I feel in some way, by bringing this to the market on Blu-ray, I believe there's only, I believe this is only available on Blu-ray in France, outside of this Australian release, so I feel like in some way Imprint is helping in that direction, even though this is already sold out. Hopefully there'll be like a standard edition coming soon. But yeah, this is a great movie, great story, and there are some really great action set pieces here as well, particularly with the artillery, the infantry, the tanks, explosions, really big, awesome stuff. It's a very, very fun war movie, but it's also a great human story as well that I feel like a lot of people will connect with. It looks stunning as well. Of course, this is set during the Afghanistan war, and it is set, you know, on this great desert landscape, and it just looks so beautiful. It has cleaned up really, really well, and just the color of the sand and the landscape and the sky and everything is just stunning. This is a real looker of a movie, and I think probably one of the best discs that have come out from Imprint in this wave particularly. This is definitely worth a look, and if you can get your hands on it, not sure if you're going to be able to without paying scalper price on eBay or whatever, but I would highly recommend trying to hunt down a copy of this. There might be some straggler copies out there at JB Hi-Fi or Sanity or wherever you shop for your Blu-rays. So get to it, have a look. Next up, we have got Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead. When a powerful mob boss gives ex-gangster Jimmy the Saint one last job, it's an offer he can't refuse. But when someone gets killed, Jimmy and his partners are marked for death, leaving Jimmy just 48 hours to put things right for his buddies and the woman of his dreams. This new release comes loaded mostly with brand new bonus features, including interview pieces with screenwriter Scott Rosenberg, director Gary Fleder, actor Andy Garcia, and designer Nelson Coates. Now, this one right here has gone down in history as perhaps being one of the most infamous Tarantino rip-offs ever made. You hear so many movies that come out that are, you know, described as Tarantino-esque. There's so many movies out there that you just know are, you know, a rip-off of a Tarantino film. Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead, released within a year of Pulp Fiction coming out, and it's believed that in most part, this movie was kind of rushed out there to capitalize on the huge success of Pulp Fiction. There's so much in here that really is derivative of Pulp Fiction. It's got a huge star-studded cast. It's got a kind of non-linear kind of storytelling in a way. It's got a rock and roll soundtrack. It's got intense violence. It's got snappy dialogue. It's got pretty much everything they expect from particularly an early Tarantino movie like Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs. That doesn't mean that this movie isn't good. It's just that this movie came out in the shadow of a movie that is much better than it, and it makes this one feel very, very, very derivative, whether that was intentional or not. This is one that I've been wanting to watch for a very, very long time. I think Andy Garcia is so good in this movie. Christopher Walken is in here as well. He's great as always. It has like an entire star-studded cast. Christopher Lloyd is in here. Steve Buscemi is in here. They are all just really great. There's all these great little set pieces, but in the end, I feel like it doesn't all quite gel together, perhaps in the way that, again, Pulp Fiction does. It just never really kind of gels. It starts really well, and there are some really great, big, explosive kind of set pieces scattered throughout the movie. But all in all, I just kind of feel like in some parts it's a bit of a trudge to kind of get through it. It's a bit laborious. In parts it can be a little bit slow, but where it works, it really, really, really works. Unfortunately, it just kind of all falls apart in the mix there a little bit, and it's not a movie that I came to really love. But I did enjoy the experience of finally getting a chance to watch this, and I think if it's something that you've been interested in checking out for however long, or you are a fan of Tarantino films, particularly from this era, it's definitely one that you do want to check out. It's a really interesting curio of cinema, and I do understand why it has become more of a cult piece and why it has, you know, it kind of got overshadowed by, again, a movie that was better than it. The transfer on this looks great. Again, I think I don't have an issue with really anything that has been released in this wave right here. This looks really filmic. There are some really nice colors in here too. It's kind of, again, I have to throw it back to Pulp Fiction, where it has that really kind of dark and grungy, kind of shadowy noir look to it, but it's also got really punchy colors as well, particularly oranges and reds and, you know, the typical kind of gangster movie stuff. And this is one of the strongest, more contemporary films that I think have been put out under this Imprint range. And I would, again, even though I didn't love the movie, I would highly recommend this release. Next up, we've got Nobody's Fool. A stubborn man past his prime reflects on his life of strict independence and seeks more from himself. Paul Newman earned an Oscar nomination for his portrayal of Sully, a likeable working stiff who's made a lifetime of bad decisions. But he unexpectedly has a chance to make right on some of them when his estranged son and grandson drop into his life. The film stars Paul Newman, Bruce Willis, Phyllis Seymour Hoffman, Melanie Griffith, and Jessica Tandy. Again, this set comes loaded mostly with brand new bonus features, including an audio commentary by filmmaker and film historian Jim Hemphill, and interview pieces with actress Catherine Dent, writer Richard Russo, and editor John Bloom. Okay, this is easily my favourite film in this entire wave right here. It's perhaps one of my favourite films I have ever discovered in the Imprint range. You all know out there that I love Paul Newman. He's one of my favourite actors of all time. I also love Bruce Willis. He's one of my favourite actors of all time from two very different generations. This is a movie I have wanted to see for so long. It has just been impossible to get my hands on. It's been off the market for however long. I've never been able to get this on, obviously, Blu-ray or DVD or anything like that. So happy to finally have this movie because it is absolutely stellar. It's a really beautiful story. It's a human story about, again, this guy who is just down and out of his luck and has never done anything right and finally gets a chance to do something right. Will he take it or will he not? These are the kinds of stories that I really find myself drawn to for some reason. Stories about people finding redemption and battling with their own inner demons. It's why I love film noir so much. I really love that kind of story. And in a way, this is not a film noir. It's not, I wouldn't even consider this a neo-noir, but it does kind of have that same kind of backbone to it, where again, it is this story of this guy just battling against himself. And every character in this movie really is unlikable, but in their own way, they become kind of likable because you don't really have anyone to root for, but you find yourself rooting for the underdog in the situation. I find something fascinating about movies like that. Paul Newman delivers perhaps his best performance of his career. I think this is, notwithstanding Butch Cassidy and Cool Hand Luke, which are two of my favourite movies ever, I think this is my favourite Paul Newman performance outside of those two movies. He's just so good here and so heartfelt, and you can tell, particularly towards, I won't even say the end of his career, because this is the mid-90s, and he still had quite a long way to go in his life and his career after this. But I feel like, in a way, maybe he felt like he was getting towards a twilight, towards kind of an end of his life or a new chapter of his life, an end to his career, new chapter of his career. However, you kind of feel in Newman that he is playing some sort of version of himself that's kind of entering this new kind of era where, you know, he's grappling with life and reflection and all these kinds of things. And I think you really feel that in this really soulful performance. Bruce Willis, in a really great underrated 1990s performance here, does a great job as well. He plays an absolute ass, which you don't see that often from Bruce Willis, but when you do, it's always really great. And he is just in absolute pure form here. And the scenes with him and Newman are just so good and make this movie absolutely worth it. Even if you're not a huge fan of either of the actors, these are two powerhouses going at it together in some really terrific scenes. And the way they play off each other, just so good. This movie looks great too. Again, I have had no issues with any of the movies in this range. As I always say, looks very filmic. Doesn't look like there's been any kind of digital tampering or anything like that. Really beautiful grain on this picture. It just looks so natural. This is a movie that I'm going to be revisiting, I think, multiple times, because there's just so much at work for it. It worked a lot for me. Might not work for you. There's so many movies here that don't work for me and work for a lot of people out there, but this is one that has my highest recommendation. And finally, we come to Whore. Betrayed by her husband, Liz is trapped by poverty and struggling to support her baby. After taking cash to go on a date, she begins life on the street, but falls victim to a brutal assault. After becoming increasingly dependent on a pimp, she realizes she must find a way out, but her pimp has other ideas. The film is directed by Ken Russell and stars Teresa Russell, Benjamin Mountain, Elizabeth Moorhead, and Antonio Fargas. This set, once more, is loaded with a whole bunch of brand new special features, including an audio commentary by film critics Alexandra Helen-Nicholas and Josh Nelson, and interview pieces with actresses Teresa Russell and Ginger Lynn, an interview piece with writer Deborah Dalton, and a new piece with X-rated auteur Bruce LaBruce on the film. It also includes a brand new video essay by author and critic Kat Ellinger. It also comes with a theatrical trailer. So we are going from one extreme to the next with Her. This is a movie that I just didn't really like at all. It's a very confronting, very confrontational, brutal, and pretty trashy movie. I really didn't like much of this at all. It's a movie that kind of, I feel like it tries to make a statement. It tries to tell this story from a female point of view, but it's told through the lens of a male director. And I feel like there are so many movies, particularly from this era, that kind of come off as really trashy while trying to kind of make a statement, and it kind of, I don't know, it kind of gets lost in it a little bit. There wasn't a lot in this movie that I really, really liked. The performances are really over the top, melodramatic, very cheesy, not very good. The storytelling isn't very good here. There's a lot of flashbacks and stuff, and it's very jarring, and not a lot of it really made a lot of sense to me. But I know there's a lot of people who really kind of like this kind of trashy cinema that has like a real hard edge to it. And if you do, all to you. And I know a lot of people are very excited. This movie's finally gotten out there on Blu-ray. I will say that the transfer on this is really great. For a movie that is as trashy and as grungy as it is, it looks very, very, very good on Blu-ray. And I think fans of the movie are going to be very happy and very excited with this one right here. Unfortunately for someone like myself, who's not really a fan of this kind of movie, it just did not work for me. And with that, we are at the end of another video. Once again, thanks to the incredible team over at Vinevision and Imprint for sending me the 20th wave. Congratulations, team. What an awesome effort, and there are some incredible titles coming out very, very soon too. As always, they'll be sent over to me, and I will cover them as soon as I can get around to them. I'm very excited. There's some really great stuff coming up. Of course, in the interim, there will be some more videos going up on this channel. I've got titles from Umbrella, Kicks.com.au, Random Space Media, some personal pickups, as always, to take a look at. Once again, this month, we're doing something a little bit different that will probably go forward depending on how much you like this kind of new format, where I'll be splitting them over their own individual videos. We'll see how they play out. So keep an eye on the channel for over the next couple of weeks for all of those. Once again, thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed to this new second channel over here, it's not a new channel, it's been around for about a year now, but if you haven't subscribed to this second channel, hit subscribe down below and you can keep up to date with all the postings that go on over here. Thanks again for watching. Thanks again to Imprint. I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy.